How can we make the claim that everybody is better after a chiropractic adjustment? That's what we're going to talk about today on What Chiropractic Doesn't Cure, Stories of Innate podcast. I'm your host, Jenna Quinton, founder of Adjust Your Media. We're going to talk about torticollis in babies, concussions in athletes, everything in between, adults, you name it. Everyone is better when they have a nervous system that is clear, and that's the conversation for today's episode. Today's guest is Dr. Steve Judson. He's a chiropractor and educator. He's a coach and a top speaker for chiropractic seminars around the world, including Dynamic Essentials. And his passion is to help people heal from within, which makes it so perfect for him to talk here and share stories today. So he is also, I want to mention, an author, and he has his own podcast as well. Wake Up Humans. If you don't know it, get it. We will talk more about that in a moment. But welcome, Dr. Steve Judson.
Thank you, Jen. It's great to be here, and great job starting this. This is awesome.
Well, thank you. So tell us a story. Who got better under chiropractic care? How did their body heal itself?
Everybody gets better under chiropractic care.
Yeah.
You know, it's we the story we like to tell that Dr. Sid always shared with us is, you know, right now I'm holding an Atlas keychain in the air. And if I drop this keychain, it's a natural law. Gravity's going to pull it to the ground. That's like chiropractic. You take pressure off the nervous system, clear out that atlas, get pressure off the brainstem. People are functioning better. Their life has changed from the minute they get their first adjustment.
Amen. Yes, absolutely. So tell us too about, I have been thinking a lot lately about brain injuries and concussions and things. I think that that is something that you have shared before, but I think that more people need to know about that. You know, maybe they think, it was minor whiplash. It's not a big deal. Tell us more about that and how that's stopping their body from healing itself when you have an injury like that.
You know, people need to understand how the body works, how the body functions. And, there's a lot of systems that make us tick. You have your endocrine system, your digestive system, all these systems that are functioning right now. If anyone woke up this morning and ate breakfast, they're not thinking about digestion. Innately, the body is smart enough to know what to do. It's releasing hundreds of chemicals to adapt and break down whatever you ate for breakfast. But what they don't realize, because we don't talk about it enough, is the central nervous system controls every system of the body. And that governing system, if it's not nurtured and taken care of, we're in trouble. Other systems have problems. And how do you know if you have a problem? Typically is when you wake up and your body starts talking to you. Talking to you is through symptoms, right? People think they're healthy until they have a symptom. Now, education and TV commercials will brainwash people and say, go to that cabinet over your sink. People call it a what? A medicine cabinet. And they self-subscribe. They start popping pills and they feel better, or they don't feel the symptoms, so they think they're healthy. But all along, their nervous system's just deteriorating until it becomes a bigger problem. So to shift the conversation for humans to understand the integrity of the nervous system, the brain stem, what it does, and you talk about brain injury, which could be a traumatic injury, but it could be a micro injury just being delivered and born and having your head pulled on 40 to 70 pounds of torqued pressure on the skull and spinal cord. What does that do to that newborn child from day one? So more parents are waking up and recognizing the need to have their infants adjusted. My 5 kids have been adjusted since the day they're born, and they're healthy. They're healthier. They're not perfect. They're near perfect. But their life is substantially better and stronger as a result of having their brainstem intact from day one.
Yes, amen. So I love that you mentioned that, because my third born, Alex the lion, Alex the defender, powerful kid, when he was born, it was my easiest birth. Just everything was good. But when I was getting him dressed the next day, I was looking at this baby and I was like, does his head look like it's a different color than his body? Everybody's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, no, turn on the light. Look at this baby. And I was like, his head looks darker. It looks more purple, looks more red than his body, than his skin tone. And I was like, what is up with this? Well, of course, my best friend Denise Stops was coming over to see the baby that day. And of course, I was like, hey, check this baby. And that is one of my great stories that I love to share because he had no symptoms. Nothing was wrong. He was sleeping, eating, pooping like a champ those first 24 hours. There was just the subtle difference of something is off. And she checked him, she adjusted him. We had a great visit. She checked him again. And, we took off his little onesie and we're like, look at that. Near perfect.
Awesome.
You know, his color just evened out.
Yeah. We took care of a woman straight through her pregnancy, except for the very end. The family, they went out of town and they were staying in Tennessee for the last couple of weeks. Long story short, wasn't feeling well, came home. The baby came a month early.
Mhm.
So she came in the other day, and the baby's about 5 weeks old now. And I could hold the baby in the palm of my hand. Baby's about 5 pounds. And the whole left side of the baby was all torqued up and tonus. The head was all jammed up. And her pediatrician said, you need to bring the baby to a chiropractor. She said, we're going tomorrow. We're going to see Dr. Steve now that we're back in town. Literally, I adjusted this baby's atlas and it was like a flower blooming. The husband started to cry. He couldn't believe it. The baby just opened up, the head evened out, all the muscles like on the spot.
Mm.
Said, how would you explain the adjustment? Because people see TikTok and people getting their neck yanked, and that's not chiropractic. So I said, it's like if you take a marshmallow and hold it between your fingertips and put just enough pressure to put it in, that's about as much pressure as we're putting onto the baby. And this baby just unraveled. She called me today. She said, Dr. Steve, he's latching, he's breastfeeding, slept through the night. It's a miracle. I said, it's not a miracle. It's what the baby's designed to do. We just got to allow it to flow.
I love that. I'm going to remember that description. You can tell you're an author because that description of like a flower opening, I think that that's so perfect. Like I can just picture that. So as you talk to chiropractors, what is one action you wish chiropractors would take to share these stories more, to help educate people more? What do you wish chiropractors would do?
I talk to them every day. And the biggest thing that these chiropractors have to do, and it's not an action step that they have to become it, is having faith and understand who they are, what their body's made of, what the human body's capable of, but also what messes that up. You see, as adults, we become doctors. Now you try to become something you're not. We're all professional and blah, blah, blah. But we're also carrying our emotional baggage from our entire life. And now you get thrown into a practice and you're trying to convince people to come in and get adjusted. There's no convincing people. What we do is factual. If you're subluxated, the bone's out of alignment, putting pressure on the nervous system, you're in trouble, 100% in trouble. You don't have to have a symptom right now, but the ice is melting and you're going to crack. And you have to own that principle, and just owning the fact that because we're doctors, we're teachers, but we don't heal a thing. We're not going to heal you. We free the body up to flow so it can adapt and heal itself. And when these doctors wake up to that principle and have faith and trust in the power of what they could do with what they've been trained to do, and stay in your lane, just do chiropractic. That's okay. People don't need you to be everything to them. We tend to want to become everything to them because we're nothing to them. We're weak. But when you understand the power of the body and what it does and what removing subluxation can do, that to me is one of the most powerful things in the world to do to another human being. I don't need to teach them other things, etc. We have conversations about it. But if you want to take vitamins and herbs, go to a naturopath, get blood work, be specific, study the body. I love it. So build a team around you. But when it comes to chiropractic, own it, love it, share it, and produce amazing results.
I love that. It does get so simple when you put it like that. I think me personally too, I want to overcomplicate things. And I sometimes think about my 8-year-old, Alex is 8 now, and how would I explain it to him? Like, he's a smart kid. He understands big words, but how would I just simply explain it to an 8-year-old? And like what you said, have faith, be specific, adjust. It gets really simple. And, when you explain it to a child, Alex is going to be like, sounds good, and go about his day. Whether we're explaining something in nature or something about relationships. Yeah, just thinking about that. How do we simply explain it, and like your flower analogy, in ways that people can understand.
I was speaking at a school once. They brought me in to go through my book with these kids, and they were funny. They were pretty fired up, and the teacher was having a hard time telling them to calm down. And all I did was look at them all and say, "Sit down."
Mm,
And they listened.
mm.
And then one kid raised his hand and says, "What do you do?" And she had a lamp on the table. I turned the lamp on. I walked over. I unplugged it. I said, "Now what happens?" They said, "You got to plug it in. That wire is a nerve connecting to the power." I said, "If you can't poop, you can't go to the bathroom." They all started laughing. My mom can't go. She's constipated. You can't. I said, "Right." I said, "It's because the power going to that area of the body is not plugged in." I plugged it back in. The light went on. And they were like, "My mom needs to go see you." And guess what? Moms came to see me because they were like, "Wow, that's simple." And another interesting story, my older daughter, Kylie, was about 11 or 12 years old. And she came home. She was getting hammered by kids at school because they could not believe she's never taken a drug. She's never had medicine. She's never had a shot. And she's like, "I haven't." They said, "You've never had a fever." "No, you've never had an ear infection." And these kids were bewildered. They said at the cafeteria, a teacher had to come over and say, "Stop, like enough. You guys are being disruptive." So she came home and she said, "Dad, what is it we really do?" And she plopped her backpack down. "What is it we're doing?" So I pulled up my laptop and I pulled up a picture of Christopher Reeve as Superman. Beautiful man, blue eyes. And she's like, "Wow, he's hot." And I said, "Right." Then I pulled up a picture of him sitting in his wheelchair. His blue eyes were gray. His hair was thin. He was obviously paralyzed. He had tubes in him. I said, "Kylie, he damaged his upper part of his neck that I'm checking on you every week since the day you're born to make sure there's no pressure. He did it on a larger scale." She goes, "Oh my God, he lost all his power." I said,
Lost all his
"Exactly.
power.
Exactly." I said, "So what we do is we just make sure you have more power every week of your life. And if the power's on, we leave it alone." And I said, "But when it gets weak, as we get weak and these kids get weak, their body talks to them to say, 'Hey, you're weak. You're losing power.' And it does that through an ear infection. The body can't think and adapt anymore. A headache. They don't sleep. They're irritable." And then Kylie said, "Why do their parents just give them drugs?" I said, "Because they don't have faith in the body."
Mm.
She said, "We have to help them get faith, Dad." And it's such a principle that people have to look in the mirror and say, "Why don't I have faith in the body?" Don't have faith in the chiropractor. That's not the question. The better question is, how can I have more faith in my body? This mechanism, all of us started out the same way, a sperm meeting an egg in your earthly mother's womb. And in 8 to 9 months, you were born. A heart, liver, kidneys, a brain, everything. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And that intelligence that created that didn't leave you when the doctor took you out and slapped your butt. It didn't leave you. It's still inside of you. Where have we lost that? And that to me is a deeper conversation and understanding moms and dads need to have when it comes to family health care.
Yes, absolutely. And I agree. I love the idea and the reminder of pregnancy because I was a new mom while I was like 22 with my firstborn, and just that miracle of like, wow, I am pregnant and I don't have to do anything. Like, I don't have to exercise. I don't have to take supplements. I don't have to have a checklist. I'm doing this amazing thing and it's innately happening. I'm not consciously doing it. And I can be a very control type person who wants the checklist, who wants to make sure I've knocked off all of the things on my list. But the biggest miracle was just happening without my conscious thought. And I think that we forget that so quickly, even if, when a woman is pregnant or there's a pregnancy in the family, we say, "Oh yeah, that's such a miracle." But we forget it so quickly that even just that every single person, that is how we started.
Right. I remember when we got pregnant the first time and we went to, what is it, the OB. My wife's a pediatric nurse. A lot of our friends were doing home births. And she said, "Steve, I'm not comfortable with that. I've seen things go wrong." I said, "Well, then we'll do it. I don't care. We'll do it in a hospital. Like, I'm not anti-medical. We'll just try to do it the best we can our way." So we went into the OB and she was ready with questions on what we're not going to do. And he said, "Guys, I'm with you. Nature's been doing this for over 2,000 years. I'm just there to make sure everything goes smooth. And God forbid it doesn't. We know how to shift." The guy's became a family friend. He delivered all my kids. He's awesome, awesome, awesome. I've probably sent him 200 women to his practice. This little girl I was just telling you about that just had the baby, he delivered the baby. So it's really, we have what we need if there's an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid I get hit by a car in a major car accident. Don't bring me to the chiropractor first. Get me to the hospital. But I
Yeah.
want him to come and adjust me in the hospital, make sure my atlas is clear because it's going to help everything, but keep me alive. Like that's where we're the best. So
Yeah.
it really comes down to is having a system, who's a loving, nurturing, awesome pediatrician that can guide a child and do what they need to do. If your kid's an athlete and they have orthopedic, knees, elbows, toes, give me the best guy,
Yeah.
give me the person that I'm knowledgeable on how to feed my kids, what to put in their body to help give their body better tools innately to grow strong, powerful human beings. And give me an amazing chiropractor that I can get my child in there checked once a week, every other week to make sure, especially as they go through growth spurts, they're integrating and adapting properly. And they've got all the power they need to be their fullest potential.
I love that. I love that. Well, we're going to wrap up in a minute, but I want to ask, what do you wish that everybody knew about the Atlas? You've mentioned it a couple of times. What do you wish everybody knew?
It's the mouth of God. It's used to control. It's where life begins and ends. And what happens in between is up to you to keep that area clear, which means as I hold up an atlas, that ring of life, as long as it's in proper alignment, there's full flow. It's like a river flowing from your brain to every organ, tissue, cell in your body. How's your atlas? Is it clear or is it not? The answer to that question could transform your entire family's life if you show up to a proper chiropractor's office.
Amen. Yes. I was adjusted yesterday, and it is always when I sit down in the car and close the door and have just that little pause before I start, and I can just feel it. I can feel the power flowing. I can feel like, I'm so zen. It's the only moment of my life that I am ever zen.
Jen,
And it is right after that adjustment.
I call that the breath.
Mm,
So my open adjusting area has 6 tables. So when I check someone, adjust them, I tell them, lay there, don't move for a couple minutes. I want the body to process. And I can
mm.
look over and you see them, they take that breath and it's like a reset. And I said it this morning, I'm like, Joey, you're ready. Go get him, buddy. He goes, Doc, it's just amazing. It just resets me. And you just said it. It's a beautiful thing that people just need to experience that. I tell everybody, try it for 6 months. If your life isn't different, then quit.
Yeah.
Prove me wrong. But you do this 6 months regularly, you're getting checked, and you have a great relationship with your doctor, and you communicate, and the adjustment doesn't hurt, right? You don't want to be just manipulated and cracked. You want to be adjusted. That's a whole different conversation that you could walk in and just be connected, and that doctor is connected to you at that moment and gives you exactly what you need and not what you don't need every single time you're in touch with them.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to put in the show notes where everyone can connect with you. I'm going to just say, come here, Dr. Steve, talk at Dynamic Essentials. Wake Up Humans. Look and find him. He's everywhere. Get the book because that explains it so clearly and simply. It's just a wonderful way to answer the question, how's your atlas? And to really see how to use the story of chiropractic to make everybody's life better.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenna. We appreciate you.
Well, thanks for being here. And yeah, listen in next time for the next story of Innate.
Amen.